Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Wednesday, the Leading Change episode this week with Pino Decandia. Hey Pino, welcome back.
Thank you, Vasco.
So, Pino, on Wednesdays, we talk about change, and we want to hear a story, like a real-life story you went through of a change process that you participated in. It could be personal, could be team level, could be organizational level, but just a change process you went through. And as you tell us the story of that change process, do highlight for us the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Okay, about change process, I would like to talk to tell a story about a big transformation I've been part of. Was a huge telecommunication company a few years, 6-7 years ago, and what I'm gonna say is somehow related to what I said in the previous episodes about the ability to talk the language of the managers and of the company. In this case, in this big change, I was not part of the change at the beginning, so I did not design the change, but I was there when it needed to be executed. Maybe many of you have been there before. You know, big four companies, big consultancies go there, create the model, then ask someone else, go there and execute it. Well, that's not that easy. Of course, in this case, I used in order to protect the pilot teams that were there by giving the managers what they were expecting, which were numbers, reporting. We created, was not just me, but I was there. We created a few tools to help teams improve, and at the same time to help managers have some data to understand. This tool was a very interesting one. Contact me on LinkedIn. I will be happy to share all the material. This tool is a maturity tracker, which we developed based on the talking about tools based on the ritual descent that Dave Snowden created, which was a way to create a self-assessment of teams, where teams could assess themselves and then take charge of the improvement actions. What happened here is that we could provide a tool that was very different from team to team because different teams wanted to focus on different stuff. At the same time, we could create some dashboard tools for the managers in order to give them some high-level understanding on what was going on. At the same time, we could provide the managers with the famous impediment board that come from the teams, so that at the same time, while I was giving with the left hand the status, with the right hand I was asking and something from the managers. This is what teams are doing. This is what you should be doing to make them improve. So this way, we could create. I mean, as I said, but it was a team stuff. We could create a tool that was useful for the teams, for their improvement. It was useful for the change, for the transformation, to give higher stakeholder, a sense of things that are proceeding. Yes, we're getting good, we're getting bad, and so on. Plus, we could add some cultural stuff because we could add alongside with the report an explicit request to the managers. We need you to do this. Or the other message was, there are other issues. We need you to do nothing because teams are totally autonomous. There was in my experience, there was a quite powerful tool to have a conversation with manager and to let the teams the freedom to experiment in this change. So I was in a pilot phase, yes.
Yeah, so if I heard you right, so what we're talking about is a tool that helped teams self-reflect with a couple of goals. So one was that it provides some sort of progress status for the teams. I imagine it was progress related to Agile adoption, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Then the second thing is that the tool would be adaptable to the team itself. So the team had some say in what the tool asked them to consider, evaluate, etc. And exactly. I imagine that through that, it was also adaptable over time, right? So the team could change the things they cared about over time.
Yeah, usually the tool started to be an input for each retrospective the team started to have. So it was definitely adaptable. And after 6 months, the tool was totally different from what we thought at the beginning. Different questions, different ways. So yes, it was very adaptable.
And then finally, the tool somehow collected insights on impediments, team
Yeah.
level or organizational level impediments that you would then deliver to the manager. So you could, at the same time that you were providing status, you say, okay, so here's where we are with this team. And the reason why we are not further is these things that we need you to help with.
Yes, exactly.
And it sounds to me like you said, even in the bio, you said that we need to understand the persons, the people we are asking to change. We need to understand their vision of the change, right? And what I hear from this story is that you can do this in a very practical way by trying to understand what are they worried about. So like, progress in the agile adoption and
Yes.
the ability to say, quote unquote, when it's done, even though it's never done, but
Yeah.
the ability to say that. And then at the same time, give the teams what they need. So that was the idea of the the tool adapting to the team's needs. And then also giving what you needed, which is the list of impediments that we can work on to help the teams, right?
Perfect. You said it much better than me. Thank you. Perfect. Exactly. But I would like to add something here. It's about, yeah, you said it was very practical. It was. Manager needed those data because they have not just stakeholder, they had shareholders. And the shareholders expected something about adoption of agile. We know that really makes sense. It should be a continuous improvement. We know that, but they needed, for reasons I may try to understand, and not my reasons. Shareholders needed to know we invested 3 millions, and we are at 50%, 70% of the adoption. And doesn't if you don't believe it, if you think that's not a real parameter to be measured, it doesn't really make any difference. Because if you don't give them some numbers, they're going to ask numbers in some different way because they need the numbers. So why don't you give? So the point is very practical, because I said to myself, we need to give them the numbers. At the same time, we need to give them something of agile, which is the skin in the game of the managers with impediments, the ability of the teams to self-determine their way of development, of improvement. And we could do this by creating a sort of layer between managers and teams, because when you get at the beginning, you go very straight in saying, hey manager, you want to know something about teams, come to the review, and that's it. Good. Of course, if you are a manager and there are 45 teams, you're not going to every review of the teams. No way.
You don't even have time to understand what's going on.
Yes. You just go there and just show off. You don't have time to understand anything. So that layer is needed. And okay, I'm getting hot because I've always I start talking about this, and I will never stop.
No, absolutely. But it was a great story. And the thing that I want to highlight here for our Scrum Master listeners out there is that it was a very practical way to bring a very simple tool we have in our toolbox, which is disclose impediments to managers who can help with them, right? Like it's a very simple tool to bring that to the managers at the same time as we are helping them fulfill a need that they have, which is to report progress to their managers, right?
Yeah, right.
Very pragmatic story. Thank you for sharing that, Pino.
Thank you.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role, we'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.